What's up? How you doing? Beautiful day today. Beautiful day, very dry, nice, perfect temperature. I was thinking today that right before the pandemic hit, me and my bride had purchased tickets to go with my children to see Hall & Oates in concert live. And then the pandemic hit and they canceled all the concerts and we got a refund and all that. And they said to us, when all this is over, they're going to probably get something going again, a whole new concert thing. And that never happened. And then they got into it during the time they were off. They found things to argue over. And now I guess they're not speaking to each other, or they're speaking very coldly to each other. And they're not touring, bottom line, right? And I missed an opportunity because I am a big Hall & Oates fan. Big Hall & Oates fan. Great music. I mean, if you were around in the 80s, and you don't have to be around the 80s, you can actually buy the greatest hits now and listen to it in the 2000s. But back in the 80s, when they were pumping out the hits and they were really, hot, they were great. I mean, I love Daryl Hall's vocals. And John Oates, he sings on, forget what song that is that he does. And his, it'll come to me, but he's decent vocals, but not like Daryl Hall. And that name, Daryl, it's very unusual. You don't hear many people naming their kids Daryl. As a matter of fact, I don't know any naming their kids Daryl. I know John, and you know what? John used to be a very popular name when I was a kid. We always had like 3 or 4 Johns in the class. It's like John this, John that, John. Now, not so much. It's kind of like died down a little bit with the John. And Daryl, no, I don't know any Daryls. Was it Daryl Stevens, one of the Daryls, one of the actors that played on Bewitched, which I love that show. I love that show for a lot of reasons. It's just a good show, but I love that house. Love that house. I love where, fictionally it's located, quiet neighborhood, and just the whole setup. Very cozy house, nice upstairs, and then you had the kitchen area and then the living room, and just I love the house. I can't say I love the house enough, but it's a nice house, lovely house. But anyway, I never had a Daryl in my class, Daryl. But now I'm talking about Daryl Hall, and I don't think that's his real name. I think the Hall is a made-up name. So, big fan of his vocals. Great sound, crisp, very soulful. Man-eater, great tune. When that came out, I used to get carpool to school. And at first, we had to figure out how to get there. It was a far, drive. And we found somebody from the neighborhood that had a kid that went to that school. And my father, contacted him and said, I have a son here, goes there. Can you take him? And then the guy said, yeah, sure. Nice. This guy was like one of the nicest people I have ever met. Nice guy. So anyway, my father said to him, how much do you want? I pay you weekly. And he goes, I don't want any money. Goes, I go that way anyway. I don't know. So he gave me a ride every single day. Nicest man. I've never met anybody, I've met a couple of people like him, but that's it. Usually you don't find people that friendly and that nice. So he was a really nice guy, and he had his son in the front, and we drive to school, and this guy loved the hit parade, Glenn Miller type music, 1940 style. And every morning I'd listen to that kind of stuff. Now at first I was like, all right, I can live with it, but it's not my cup of tea. My cup of tea is Lipton. So, I wanted to hear more rock, more pop, American Top 40 sounding songs. And he had that sound every single morning. Well, by the time Christmas rolled around, I was looking forward to getting into his car and listening to some of that, stuff. Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald music, and it was, growing on me. And at some point, I was thinking I could write that stuff. I could write that, and then I actually tried, and I think I was okay at it. But anyway, so he only had AM in that car. He had a station wagon, a Chevelle station wagon. He would drive us to school every single morning, and he kind of looked to me like a Daryl from Bewitched. Matter of fact, one time I told his son, I go, "Does your father do advertisement work or something like that?" I go, "Because he reminds me of Daryl from Bewitched." Or Darren, oh, sorry. Now I caught it. It's Darren, not Daryl. But anyway, I did ask that question. I goes, "Your father do something similar like that?" He goes, "Oh," he goes, "You think my father's an advertising agent?" I go, "I don't know if I think that he does that, but I think he looks like Darren, because he kind of did. But I'm talking about the original Darren, not the one they replaced him with. He did not look like that guy. He looked like the original guy." And the son chuckled, and we never brought it up again. So he only had AM in that car, and that Christmas his son bought him an FM converter thing that goes into a car that's missing the FM part, and he bought it to him. The first day I was in there, I get in there and I'm listening to Man-Eater, which I love that song, and I go, "That's a cool song. I go, how did he get that to play?" And then I realized when they were talking that he bought him that as a gift, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's not really a gift for him. That's more of a gift for you who wants to hear that kind of music." So kept driving and listening to that, and I was enjoying it. Next day, same thing, and then all of a sudden, no more. Now we went back to the 1940s music. About 2 weeks of this, and the son one day says to the father, he goes, "I bought you that FM converter, and you don't even use it." And the father looked over at him, and he goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I think you bought that for you and not for me." And then there was like this awkward silence in the car. About 15 seconds passed, and the father looked over to the son. He said, "I'll tell you what," he goes, "one day we listen to your kind of music, the next day we listen to mine, and we'll just keep switching back and forth." And they both agreed, and then so for the following, few months until school finished, that's what we did. And Man-Eater was heavily played during that period of time. So every time I hear Man-Eater, it brings me back into that car driving to school. And it was quite a ride. It wasn't close to my house. Now on the way back, I would take I had a carpool, but I did not like the lady who was the carpool driver. She got on my nerves once, and I said, "That's it with you. I'm done. I'd rather pay and the hassle of taking the train and the bus home than to be in the car with you." So I stopped her, and then I started taking the train and the bus home. So, which was a big hassle for me, but I did not like her. I did not like her style at all. So, I don't know how it's going to work out for me to see Daryl Hall and John Oates again. I don't know the way they're talking. Doesn't look like that's ever going to happen. But I wish they would, like, for a few minutes make up and then do a tour, and I would go and see them. I was supposed to go and see them at the Hollywood Bowl, right? But like I said, the pandemic hit, and then during that interim of time from then till now, they got into an argument. They got into some legal issues with their music. I think one guy, as far as I know, maybe it's not 100% accurate, I think John Oates wanted to sell off the stuff, or the other guy wanted to sell. I don't know who wanted. Somebody wanted to sell stuff. And I don't know what happened, if they sold stuff or if they changed their mind, if they came up with another agreement, I don't know. But anyway, I would have loved to have seen the two of them. So, I mean, I watch, Daryl on YouTube being interviewed once in a while. Interesting guy, I like to hear about how the music came together. That always fascinates me. I love books that talk about music I like and how it came to be. The concept, the idea behind it, the background of how, it was put together in the studio, stories like that. I love stories like that. If I pick up a book on, you name it, like, I don't know, Duran, they had a bunch of hits back in the old days. Billy Joel, Elton John, U2. Yeah, I'd love to hear the story behind the story on the songs they wrote, the meanings, You know, sometimes there's something hidden in there that you didn't notice the first time, and you know, then they go, "Oh yeah, pay attention to this thing. This is what it actually meant." So yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I can get Daryl Hall to come to my house and do that show. You know, that's a pretty cool show. You know, they have bands that go to his house. I don't know where he lives, but you know, like to be in the on the couch when they film that show. He's got a lot of interesting guests that come over his house. And the other guy, though, I do understand that he had a major role, if not an entire role, in writing Maneater. So that's pretty impressive because I think that's their biggest hit. Although they had a ton of hits, but that one there, you know, stands out. You know, so yeah, the old timers that actually played instruments on their songs and actually did not have auto tune and all that. Slowly they're fading into nothingness. You know, and now we're going to be stuck with computer music. Computer music with enhanced vocals using computer-generated auto tuning. Times have changed. Anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.